Hey guys, welcome back to Jasmine Reads Romance. I'm Jasmine and today I have a very special video. So I posted a question sticker on my Instagram story asking if you guys would give me recs and I would tell you if I've already read this book, what I thought about it, like very briefly. If I haven't read it, do I want to read it or is it something that's completely not on my radar? And I got so many responses. I'm going to have to try to do like a rapid fire response to these, which will be hard. Some of these I haven't heard of before and I need to read the synopsis to get like a gist of would I want to read this or not. So here's the plan. If I've read it before, I'll let you know what I rated it or if I loved it or not. And if I haven't read it, I'll let you know if it's something that I do want to read. Would it be like high priority read for me if I just discovered this book, middle priority, or like really low priority? Like it's something that I would want to read but not immediately. So I had my list of all books that were suggested to me and I put them in alphabetical order. So I'm going to try to keep it that way so that I can list every single book that I'll talk about in the comment section down below. You can see if I mentioned the book that you recommended to me. If I haven't gotten to your book, it's probably because you commented after I've already recorded this video. So I'm so sorry if I didn't get to your books, but I really tried to film this fast before I left for vacation. The first one is After the Night by Linda Howard. Is this historical? I can't tell if this, there's probably going to be like some cover judging because if I haven't heard of it before, the appeal of the cover definitely factors into, do I want to read it or not? High priority, low priority? It just depends. But it is blurred by Catherine Coulter. Okay, this is hilarious. This is a story set in Louisiana. I'm from Louisiana. I don't think Prescott is a real place though. Am I mistaken? I'm gonna have to look that up. Prescott, Louisiana does not sound real to me. No, it is fiction. It is not real at all. I love when there is a part of the description that basically lists all of the tropes. And this says that it is a sizzling novel of love and hate between the girl from the wrong sides of the track and the town's wealthy and powerful favorite son. So enemies to lovers, wrong side of the track. Scandalous. It sounds like his father ran off with her mother, but they possibly had a thing when they were teenagers, and after that came to light, he pushed her away and said some very mean things, like called her white trash and stuff. So I don't know, second chance romance? I'm thinking that maybe. I will say that I'm a little bit harsh on books set in Louisiana. Now, since this is a made-up town in Louisiana, I don't know if it's supposed to be southern Louisiana, which is where I'm from, or northern Louisiana. I don't really know until I crack open the book, but most books that are set in New Orleans, I kind of have a bone to pick because a ton of times the characters will have like a Cajun accent, and Cajun is not native to New Orleans area. It's actually west of New Orleans, and I've seen so many people say that, oh, these Cajun accents are so sexy, and girl, do y'all know what Cajun sounds like? It does not sound sexy at all. I am a Cajun girl. I'm from Cajun country. Editing Justin, if you have time to show these people what a true Cajun accent sounds like a thick one, I really would love to add that in there if you have time.
So before I get off the phone with you, Sha, you know they got that hurricane coming. It's a big storm. This is Hurricane Boudreaux. So they say I think it's a category 62.5. So that's gonna make me have to go run back to the store, and I'm gonna have to go get probably a fit or something. I know T-Pop, he like Bud Light. I think it's Bud Light or Budweiser. But if it's Budweiser, that's rare labor shot. That get me down to my calzones. Nobody need to see all that shit. All right.
So yeah, anyway, that one does sound interesting to me. We'll see. Mid priority for me. Next is All the Pretty Monsters by Kristy Cunning. Oh, that's the series title. Yeah, the actual title's not great. It's a reverse harem. Is she a werewolf or is she a witch? I'm so confused. It has very much Red Riding Hood vibes from the cover, but I'm not sure. It just says she's landed herself in a world filled with monsters. Interesting. See, the blurb doesn't tell me too much about it, so it feels low priority for me. But since it is reverse harem and I've been very much into reverse harems, I want to find the ones that I like, which is a true polyamorous relationship, not just like the girl trying to decide between all the guys and sleeping with all the guys, but she ends up with one. I don't like that. I want it to be polyamorous, and I like for at least one of the men to be bisexual. That's just my preference for reverse harem. So I don't know. I'm gonna put it on low priority until I hear more about it. If somebody can explain like the tropes, the premise better than the synopsis did, because I don't think it did a good job of that. Okay, next someone said Amo Jones. I have not read anything by Amo Jones. I do have the first book in her Elite Kings Club series. The Silver Swan. I do have that on my Kindle. I just never picked it up. Again, nobody's really, I don't want to say pressured me to read it, but nobody's like hyped it up to me and saying like, oh my gosh, this is the book that you're missing out on. So it appeals to me. The cover appeals to me, especially the one that's like volume 1 or whatever. It's like the box set or something. That cover, I'm into like these dark covers. It's just my vibe, okay? And yeah, I don't know. Technically right now, it's low priority for me because none of my friends have told me that I'm missing out with Amo Jones. So until somebody screams in my face saying, oh my gosh, you have not read this book, you need to read this now, it's gonna be a low priority for me. Next is The Bad Guy by Celia Aaron. I've never heard of this book or this author. There's a tagline on the cover that says, could you love a villain? I could. I like villains. This sounds like a captive, possibly. I'm not sure. Yeah, I like this. I like the sound of this book. I'll say mid-priority until maybe I'll go read some non-spoiler reviews to see if it is like a captive, because I want to know how villainous this guy is. Is this really truly dark romance? I don't know. Again, I would like to normalize authors including themes and tropes either in the title on Amazon. That has been a thing kind of within the past couple of years that I've seen more of that I really and truly like. If you want me to click on your book, do the title, and then list the tropes like a single dad romance, a secret baby romance, a billionaire romance, an MC romance, all that kind of stuff works for me, and I will one-click your book if that's in the title. Like, who needs synopsis when you have that kind of stuff? That's what I want. Becoming a Vincent. It is the first book in the Wild Ones by Owens. I've never heard of this book either. Looks cutesy. Is this a rom-com? Oh my goodness, this synopsis sounds like a mess, honestly. I don't even know what's happening yet. Apparently this is a town where they rank the townies' craziness on a scale. And there's 4 crazy families called the Wild Ones, and the heroine's on the bottom tier of those. So technically I'm not as crazy as the other Wild Ones. I don't know what's happening. What is happening with the romance in here? Okay, this is a best friend romance. Possible. Mid-priority. The synopsis... If I feel like a synopsis is very messy and it doesn't tell me a lot about the book, it makes me worried for the actual content of the novel. So I'm gonna put it in mid-priority. I'm intrigued just because I'm really gravitate towards friends to lovers romances nowadays, much more than I do enemies to lovers, because I just think that enemies to lovers is overdone, and by some people who really don't have a great enemies to lovers story to tell. Like, why are these people enemies? Doesn't really have a reason. Anyway, so friends to lovers is my catnip right now. I love that. Next is my sister actually hopping on my Instagram, throwing in Birthday Girl. She knows that I read it. I reacted to her. She read it. She loves it. She just wants to be on YouTube. So this is a shout out to Claudia, my sister, my baby sister headed off to college. Yes, I love Birthday Girl. One of my favorites. One of my favorite taboo age gap romances. It's phenomenal. It's delicious. Okay, here we have the Bootleg Spring series. And this is a series that is co-written between Claire Kingsley and Lucy Score, so I believe that they alternate between which one takes point on a certain book, and I have read the first one, Whiskey Chaser, for our Patreon exclusive pick. I did not love it, and I believe that this one is mostly written by Lucy Score. I'm not sure how this works, how they write this series together. I haven't cared enough to really look into it, but I did not love this book, and it made me just not want to read the rest of the series. If I were to read more in the series, I might read only Claire Kingsley's. But yeah, it's very low priority for me. I really don't care about this series at all. The Broken Trilogy by J.L. Drake, another one that I've never heard of before. Heroine is kidnapped on her 27th birthday, beaten, starved, and then rescued by an elite group of U.S. Army soldiers come to her rescue, and she's under their safety, their protection. Is this a reverse harem? Am I just seeing reverse harems everywhere? I don't know. I don't know if she's gonna have a romance with one of them or all of them. I need more info. Tell me, is this a reverse harem or she just fall in love with one of them? If you know, please drop it down in the comments. I mean, come on, authors, do better in your synopsis. The Brutal Truth by Lee Winter. Is this a vampire book? She's very pale. Take one Ice Queen media mogul boss and assistant with a crush on her, throw in a truth bet, and as their secrets pour out in the slow burn lesbian romance, neither woman will be the same again. Ooh, someone likens this to The Devil Wears Prada. That's interesting. I like this. I would say mid-priority for me. I like a good office romance. Yeah, that sounds good. I like that. Consequences series by Aleathea Romig. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry I butchered that name. This cover gives me very post 50 Shades vibes. Like all those covers that were coming out with like the random little objects, very like minimalistic, that's what it gives me vibes of. Is this very like erotica? He thought he taught her to behave. Sounds like erotica, not my fave. So the synopsis says a suspenseful thriller about secrets, deception, passion, and love, choices, and consequences. This is a captor-captive romance. Interesting. She wakes up in a mansion unfamiliar to her, and she's been abducted, and she has to learn the rules to survive. Interesting. Interesting. I don't know. This one kind of sounds good. I did judge this book by its cover, but it does sound kind of good. I would say mid to high priority for this one. To make it into like the high priority, you either have to have something that is just like my catnip that I like one click normally on no matter what, if I'm unfamiliar with the author, whatever, or if my friends are like forcing it down my throat and telling me that I really need this one and I really like this one. And when I say friends, I mean people who like interact with me on a regular basis, like on Instagram and stuff. You don't have to be like my bestie, but like I'm just saying, like, you talk to me and I trust your recommendations. So anyway, the Crossfire series, we just talked about these kind of. So this is again post 50 Shades type of cover. Yes, I've read the entire Crossfire series, and recently, I think in the beginning of the year, I had this wild hair that I needed to go reread them, and I reread the first and the second book, which I enjoyed, but this series did not need to be as long as it was. And it's fine. It's definitely fine. It's not my favorite. It's just not what I gravitate to anymore, but I'm not mad at them. They're just not the greatest things of all time, you know? Damaged Like Us by Krista and Becca Ritchie. I have this book on my Kindle. I have purchased this book. I don't know when. I want to say it's like 2018. Yeah, 2018 I bought this book and I have not read it yet. I believe it's MM Romance. Okay, yeah. Bodyguard. MM Romance. Alpha billionaire plus his bodyguard. I mean, it does sound really good. I don't know. Nobody, like I said, nobody has ever been like, you're totally missing out on Damage Like Us. It's just not one of those books that have been like waved in front of my face telling me this is something that I have to read. So let me know in the comments if this is one that I need as like high priority. But yeah, I'm interested in it. It's on my Kindle. I bought it. It's one of those things that is on my TBR, but like the part of my TBR that goes to die. It's like I would love to read it, but when am I going to be in the mood to actually pick this book up without other people encouraging me to do so? Dark Lover by J.R. Ward. Yes, I have read this series. Not the whole thing. I believe it's still going on, or there's a spinoff or something. And I actually binged the series. It was one of those things where quite a few years ago, everyone was like, oh, you love paranormal and vampire romances, you're missing out on the J.R. Ward series, The Black Dagger Brotherhood. And I stumbled into that cult following of the BDBs. I liked it enough to continue with the series, but I only have two favorites from it. And I think it's book 2, which is Rage, and book 3, which is Sadist. Those are the only two that stand out to me. The rest kind of blur together, and I find that the heroes' personalities and definitely their dialogue completely blends together. It's not a bingeable series to me because you see it's basically the same recycled hero with slight personality changes, but it's basically the same. Personal opinion, the series doesn't have a ton going for it. Once you read the first few books, it's just kind of like repetitive over and over again, and yeah, I don't care for it. Ooh, Death's Dancer by Jasmine Silvera. So I've actually read the, what was it called? What's the first book? In the Blood and Tooth series, and that's like a spin-off prequel. So Death's Dancer actually happens after the book that I read, but it was written before. I'm very interested in this series, like a lot. I really thought that Jasmine Silvera had something extremely unique. I've never read anything like it. So this series, both of them are set in Prague, which is a very different setting from a lot of the books that I read just in general, not just urban fantasy. There's necromancers and witches and werewolves, but like witches have to like hide their magic and stuff like that. I just find this fascinating, and I think this is the one with like the actual necromancer romance. And I'm not exactly sure what necromancers do in this world because they're not really prominent in the prequel. I need to get back into that series. Yes, high priority. I would love to read Death's Dancer. The Demigods of San Francisco series, which is the first book is Sin and Chocolate by K.F. Breene. I see these books all the time. It's recommended by Amazon to me all the time, like, you should read these books based on what you read, whatever. Yeah, I definitely like the sound of this book. It's always kind of been on my radar again, but like mid priority for me. Nothing has pushed it to the top of my TBR list, but I am very interested in this book. The Devil by Ashley Jade. I actually have checked this book out on KU, and it sat on my Kindle for forever and I never read it, but I know that it is a dark romance. Yeah, very vague synopsis, but it does say that the story contains content that may be offensive to some readers. So vague on the content warning as well, but I like dark romance. Mostly I like when it's recommended to me with like tropes. I need to know like what's actually happening in the book, not just like, oh, this is a dark romance, like tell me what's happening. The synopsis doesn't do that, so low priority, I would say. A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. This has never really been on my radar. And I do actually want to watch the TV show. I don't watch a lot of TV anymore. I used to, but television is really not a priority for me. So I probably will never read a Discovery of Witches series. I hate to say never, but probably never. So I don't know. It's just no, low priority for me for a Discovery of Witches. I really like the look of the books though. Dragon Bound by Thea Harrison. Ooh, this is a new cover. This was not the cover that I'm familiar with because I've seen this a lot. It's very Game of Thrones vibe cover, very minimalistic, very heavy on like the fantasy. Is that just me? I don't know. This is the first time that I'm seeing this alternate cover. Yeah, I'm definitely interested. I love dragon shifters, so, but it's such a weird thing. I like reading shifter romances more in the fall. So we'll see if that makes it on my list for like the Sears Paranormal Romance Readathon and stuff like that. Dublin Street series by Samantha Young. I've read the first book in the series, On Dublin Street. It recently got a cartoon cover change, and I'm very much against cartoon covers now. I don't like cartoon figures because it gives a vibe of this is a rom-com to books, and I feel like lots of authors have been following the publishing trend where it's just like if I slap a cute colorful cartoon cover in my book, maybe it'll sell a little bit better. And I think that that was true at one time, but now on principle, I totally avoid cartoon covers. But anyway, to answer the question, yes, I have read this one. It really didn't leave an impression. I believe I gave this book 3 stars. It just didn't do it for me. And that's the only Samantha Young book that I've read, I believe. The Duchess Deal by Tessa Dare. I'm about to get crucified. I think I've only completed one Tessa Dare book, When a Scot Ties the Knot. And I know that Tessa Dare is one of the most recommended authors for people who want to start reading historical romance. Everyone suggests you should read Tessa Dare. She's a great entry historical romance author to start with, and I have never connected with her books enough to make me finish one besides When a Scot Ties the Knot. And I think I was buddy reading that with Juliet, and that's the only reason why I actually finished it. I have tried to read the paperback versions, the ebook. I even got the audio from my library, and it was free, completely free, and I listened to the first 5 chapters and I didn't feel like going back to it. There's just something about Tessa Dare's writing that lets my mind wander and does not captivate me. I don't really think I'll ever read a Tessa Dare at this point. The Duke and the Lady in Red by Lorraine Heath. Now this is a part of her Gentleman of St. James series, I believe. Yes. And I've only read the first book in this series. And that one is actually, the first book in this series was one of my least favorite Lorraine Heath. So maybe that's why I haven't continued with the series. But a lot of them are interconnected. And I'm not sure if this one is. But God, this cover is so gorgeous. Yeah, I love Lorraine Heath. She's always one of those authors where if I'm not really loving the historicals that I'm picking up, if I'm trying to find a new author, I'll go fall back on Lorraine Heath's backlist because she has such an extensive backlist. And yeah, I mean, I will probably one day read this book. Eyes of Silver, Eyes of Gold by Ellen O'Connell. Wow, this cover. What's going on there? I'm sorry, that sounds so mean, but yeah. That's not the greatest cover in the world. Ooh, historical 1885 in Colorado. I haven't read very many historicals set in America. I don't know about this one though. Nothing about it really stands out to me about the synopsis, so again, low priority for me. Forever and a Day by Jacqueline Simon Gunn. Oh my God, no. I don't think I'll ever read this book, guys. So it sounds like a second chance romance where the heroine and the hero dated when they were in high school, and he cheated on her with her best friend named Petal. And this is their 20-year high school reunion, and he is married to Petal. She's with somebody now, and it sounds like a clusterfuck. I don't like what this is saying. No. It's not even on a priority list. I don't think so. Unless somebody has a compelling reason why this book is amazing and I would like it, despite the synopsis turning me way off Four Horsemen series. Yes, I have read the Four Horsemen series by Aleathea. I really like Pestilence. I thought it was very unique. And I really disliked War, the second book. It was my least favorite. I'm pretty sure I gave it a 2.5 star. I was very harsh on it. Famine was fine, but it was very much kind of a repeat of Pestilence. Followed the same story beats. It's getting a little repetitive because I don't feel like there's an overarching like goal here. It's just like the horsemen awaken one by one, want to destroy the world, and then fall in love. And there's no like, I don't know, culmination of events. It's just kind of like, oh, well, my brother didn't do it, so I guess it's my job now and I won't fall prey to love. So yeah, to say that I'm not as excited for Death's book, that would be accurate. I'm still gonna read it, but I don't know. By this point, I don't know how the series is going to wrap up as a whole, but I will always still like Pestilence. I think that it was a pretty good book. I'm pretty sure I gave that one 4.5 stars. Freeing Luca by Victoria Avalon. I have read and loved the first book in the series, Choosing Theo, and I always meant to go back into the sci-fi romance. It's a very unique world where the men in this alien planet are trained to be like the homemakers and how to take care of women. It's a very unique world, and I really did like it. So yeah, I will definitely go back into the series. Probably need to reread Choosing Theo though. Groupie by C.M. Sunick. I saw Samantha talk about this book the other day, but this is a rock star groupie romance. 5 rock stars, 1 girl. So there's a note from the author at the end. Sounds a little angsty, but it says, strong focus on the woman. Although the men aren't scared of each other's bodies. A reverse harem novel. Has a happy ending, no cliffhanger. So I hope that this is the style of reverse harems that I gravitate towards. This sounds good. High priority. I'm liking it. The Guy on the Right by Kate Stewart. This is another book that has landed on my Kindle via KU, and I never read it. So this sounds like a college romance where he's always been like a band geek, but then he gets popular in college, but maybe one of his friends starts creeping on his girl. I don't know. Yeah, it's middle priority. I'm not wowed by the synopsis. So The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. Yes, I've read this. When it came out, I really did enjoy it. And it was when I was experiencing a need for more rom-coms in my life. I was coming off of like heavy paranormal vibes, which can tend to feel darker. And The Hating Game felt like a breath of fresh air to me. But there's so many rom-coms that are similar in style to The Hating Game now. I pick up less and less rom-coms unless it's by an author that I already know and love. But yeah, I'm just not in the mood for rom-coms anymore. The Hating Game, if I reread it now, I think I'd still enjoy it, but it's definitely not one of those books that I'd be like, this is one of my favorites of all time still. The characters were fun, but yeah, nothing that I absolutely love right now. Head Coach by Leah Riley. It's a very close-up look at this guy's face. So this sounds like a enemies to lovers romance between a sports reporter and the head coach. I'm assuming, is this hockey romance? Yeah, again, enemies to lovers. I feel like so many people try to do enemies to lovers because it is the darling trope that I'm just kind of like, I need more to convince me than just saying it's an enemies to lovers, so low priority for me. The Heart series are Painted Faces by L.H. Cosway. So first of all, 6 of Hearts has always been on my radar. I really like the sound of the synopsis. The only reason why I've been hesitant to pick up another L.H. Cosway is because the ones that I've read by her, which is A Crack in Everything and How the Light Gets In, that duet, I really loved it, but it like ripped my heart out. And I'm very picky about angsty books nowadays. I really have to be in the mood for it. So I've always been hesitant to pick up another L.H. Cosway because I'm not sure if all of her books are angsty like that. But I'm very much interested in reading this series, the 6 of Hearts series, because I've heard so much about it, as well as Painted Faces. So both of those I would say probably mid priority. They've always been on my list, but at this point, the likelihood of me picking them up is just a coin toss. Hellfire Rider series. First book, Saxon and Jenny by Katie Wilde. Wow, this cover. This is an intense pose, and I like it. Like, look at his hair grab and the way that his hand is on her neck. Absolutely love this. Like, I'm already sold because of the cover. That's just how I roll. Ooh, this one sounds angsty too. So it sounds like the hero spent 5 years in prison for defending the heroine's honor. I think she was being assaulted by a rival motorcycle club. So it does sound very angsty, but I am very interested in this book. Her Soul to Take by Harley LaRue. I've seen this book making its rounds recently. I'm very, very intrigued. I love this cover so much. So this is like supernatural, there's demons, sounds like magicians, magic, all kind of stuff like that. But there is a content warning at the bottom that kind of made me leery, but Jen is actually reading it right now. And she told me that it reminds her a lot of Buffy. And to me, Buffy has like a little bit of lightness mixed in with all of that. So I don't know. The vibes that Jen is telling me that this book is giving her, and the content warning at the end of this synopsis, it's basically like warning all the triggers things. I'm not sure how dark this book is, but it's very much on my radar. High priority for me, especially after I get the gist of what it's about from Jen. Highland Guard series by Monica McCartney. I actually have The Chief on my August TBR. I'm very interested in reading this one. Quite a few people have suggested this author in this series to me, so I love a good Scottish hero. So yeah, high priority for me. I'll probably read it pretty soon. His Muse by Twyla Turner. So this was suggested by Crystal, and I actually have watched Crystal's review of this. I believe she did a reading vlog a while back, and all I remember is while she was reviewing it, I might have to go watch it again, it sounded too angsty for me. So I'm gonna say low priority unless Crystal can message me and tell me exactly why I should read his Muse, because you know that I'm not good with the angst, girl. I don't know. I'd say low priority right now. Home and Away, Samantha Whalen, already hockey vibes. I love hockey so much. I would just say, yeah, 100% would probably read this hockey romance. It sounds great. The Horde King series by Zoe Draven. I already have this book loaded on my Kindle. I'll probably be reading this while I'm at the beach. Included in this recommendations was Ice Painted Barbarian meets Dothraki, and I'm like, yeah, it's totally, yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm kind of scared if I start this book at the beginning of my beach vacation, will I want to binge the entire series and ignore everything else in my TBR? That's a possibility. I might have to push it like towards the middle of my vacation. We'll see. The Hunter by Kerrigan Byrne. So this was actually a book that was suggested to me by Tori. She wanted me to read this for the Friends Pick My Books. And I was like, I've already read this book quite a few years ago, and it is one of my favorite Kerrigan Byrne novels of all time. It is very high angst. She does like to put her characters through the ringer, and Christopher Argent, the hero, goes through some crap in the beginning. It is amazing. It's an assassin and his target romance, and she is a single parent. It's like everything that I could ever want. It is a above 5-star read for me. Kerrigan Byrne knocked it out of the park with this one for me. It's my favorite. Incense and Sensibility by Sonali Dev. I have tried to read Pride and Prejudice and Other Flavors, and I got almost halfway through, but then I was kind of really bored with it. And then I tried to read her Bollywood Affair series, and that definitely did not work for me at all. So the likelihood that I'll read the third book in this series is pretty low. It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. It's a cartoon cover. I'm not trying to be mean, but like on NetGalley, if I see cartoon covers, I will immediately skip over you no matter what. There is like a 1% chance that I'm going to be reading new books with cartoon covers. If it's a recently published book and it has a cartoon cover, whether it's historical or contemporary or even paranormal, and I mean like with the cartoon figures, I will probably not ever read it. It's too confusing. It's too confusing. The covers give a certain vibe. The content of the book doesn't always reflect what the cover is telling me. I'm looking at You Beach Read and also Meet Cute by Helena Hunting. Those two books, I was just like, no. I know you're lying. I actually read Meet Cute. I did not read Beach Read, but I don't like when the cover does not match the actual content of the story. Don't try to trick me. And I'm not saying that Tessa Bailey's trying to trick me, but I also didn't like her series, her Fix Her Up series. I didn't like any of those books. I read the first one completely. I started the second one and I wasn't feeling it. And yeah, I didn't like those at all. I like her vampire series though. Jamie Bennett. I've never heard of this author before. Oh, this book actually caught my eye. Football romance, Defending the Rush. Oh, so this is cute. I mean, it sounds like a fun romance with a kind of weird hero, which I like that, and the daughter of the head coach. I would say mid to high priority for this one. I've never heard of this author before, but yeah, that one definitely kind of intrigues me. Jessica Gadziella. Never heard of this author before either. Let's see which one is most popular. This one has a lot of ratings, and it actually says In the title, a paranormal MC romance, so it tells me a lot already. Well, thank God that they had something in the title, because the synopsis really doesn't give me any information at all. It doesn't intrigue me that much. I would say mid-priority, because I'm looking for more MC romances that could possibly work for me. It's not my favorite subgenre of romance. I don't love MC romances, so I'd be willing to try this one. Judith McNaught contemporaries. I've not read any Judith McNaught contemporaries, and I don't have a desire to, because I've read quite a few of her historicals and only one has ever worked for me, and that was A Kingdom of Dreams. The rest I had major issues with, and nobody has told me that her contemporaries are like really worth the read, so pretty low chance that I'll ever pick one up. Junkie by Cambria Hebert. This is a really cool cover. It looks like a magazine cover. I like this. That's unique. And it says a friends to lovers male sports romance novel. Ugh. Please, everyone, do it like this. Do it like this. I love it. Like this, I would one-click this book without reading the synopsis. Like, it's already a yes for me because of the included tropes with the title. I want to normalize this. All authors, please do this, or include all the tropes at the beginning of your product description. That's what I would like. Can we normalize that? Can everyone band together on BookTube and like request that authors do this, please? For sure, I definitely want to read this book because it's a race car driver in romance, and I've never read anything like that. I like this book, high priority. Kiss an Angel, Suzanne Elizabeth Phillips. I like how in parentheses it says don't judge a book by its cover. Interesting, so it says the heroine Daisy can either go to jail or marry the mystery man her father has chosen for her. And this is like modern day romance, and this guy's Russian. So he drags her from her uptown life to a broken down traveling circus. I'm intrigued. I would say mid to high priority for this one. I like this one. I'm definitely gonna put a mark right here. I might be in the mood to read this kind of soon. I don't know. I like it. Thanks for the recommendation. Kit Roca. I've not read anything by Kit Roca, and let me go see which one's the most popular. So I see Beyond Shame, and it says it's an erotic dystopian romance set in a dark and decadent world. I don't know. I guess, again, this is an author which I'm familiar with their name. I hear a lot of people say the name, but nobody has ever said, you have got to read this book. How have you never read anything by them? I'm gonna have to have more people come at me hard to read any of these books, so very low priority. I'm not saying never, but it doesn't super intrigue me right now. The Clutch Duet by Anne Malcolm. Ooh, I really like this cover. Lies at Center Hill is the first book in this duet. Now I will say, if it's a duet, it's a much harder sell for me, because sometimes I think that authors write duets because they just want to capitalize on having two books in basically one story. Not all romances need that duet. In my experience, I've been burned a couple times where the cliffhanger for the first book, I'm just like, I can't believe we're ending on this very emotional cliffhanger that makes me more mad than curious for the next book. So it's like a balancing act. I don't know. And again, the synopsis is very vague, just talking about deals with the devil and blah, 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 blah. So low priority for me. I really like the cover though. Covers can do a lot to get me to buy a book or get it on KU or whatever. But yeah, I'm gonna say low priority. Lola and the Millionaires and the Soul and Loon Duet. Now, I recently read A Lady of Rooksgrave Manor by Catherine Moon, one of my favorite reverse harems of all time. It was so much fun. It was a monster reverse harem, so I'm very intrigued by her entire backlist. I will be reading Lola and the Millionaires while I'm on vacation, and I'm so excited about it because I've just heard really great things, and I love The Lady of Rooksgrave Manor so much. So yeah, all of her backlist, everything. Yes, that's a yes for me. Louder Than Love by Jessica Topper. Looks like a single mom romance from the cover. So the heroine's a librarian and a widower, and it's been 3 years. She and her young daughter moved back to her hometown. I do like single parent romances. I'm gonna put this as mid priority because it's a single parent romance, but it's the main reason why it even remotely intrigues me. Lucy Score. Now I kind of mentioned Lucy Score in the Bootleg series, but Lucy Score is another author that constantly gets recommended to me, and she's never worked out. I have DNF'd the majority of the books that I have picked up by her. The only one that I read all the way through was Riley Thorne and the Dead Guy Next Door. And that was because it was for a Patreon review, something for our podcast. And it was an okay story, but nothing blew me away. I had issues with it, and That was after I picked up multiple books by Lucy Score and I have DNF'd them. I don't know what it is about her writing style. It just does not work for me. So that's gonna be a no from Lucy Score. The Mind series by S.T. Abbey or Stabby. I first saw this book on Jess's channel and I was like, first of all, what an author name. Second of all, yeah, I really like this. And also the bundle for the series, it kind of looks very Twilight-esque and like, yeah, mid-priority to high. Moon Awakening by Lucy Monroe. Ooh, I love this cover. Absolutely love this cover. I want this book in paperback. Where is this book? This is what I like to see for synopsis. I'm a less is more type of girl, like get to the gist, the heart of the story. The synopsis literally says, Book 1 in the Children of the Moon paranormal series, Emily Hamilton volunteers to marry a Scottish laird in order to save her younger sister, but she can't save herself from being kidnapped by a werewolf clan and its wild-hearted leader. End of synopsis. Perfect. That's all I need to know. High priority. You have just booked yourself on a one-way ticket to my vacation list. I love it. Thank you. Motorcycle Man by Kristen Ashley. I read this series and I have read her Chaos spinoff and Golden Dynasty by Kristen Ashley, but Motorcycle Man really doesn't do it for me. She's another one of those authors, just like J.R. Ward. I think her characters are so similar to each other. They talk the same way. I've said this in multiple videos, but Kristen Ashley is definitely not one of my go-to authors. She has a couple of books that I'm like, this is really fun. I actually really prefer Lawman to Motorcycle Man, and I know that Motorcycle Man is everyone's like favorite in the series, but I like Lawman better. I think it has a more unique story, and I do like a couple from the Chaos series. But again, if you try to binge these books, you just see so many similarities in the plots, the characters, and the dialogue, and it's just too much for me. They're not bingeable books for me. The Next Mrs. Russo by Jana Aston. I'm gonna say no because I read Wrong by Jana Aston. It's the only book that I read by her, I believe. I think maybe one more. And it didn't wow me at all. I thought the writing was pretty terrible. And this is a personal opinion. I'm not trying to offend anyone, but I'm just gonna say no to Jana Aston. I just didn't like it. So there's so many books out there. This is just one day of recommendations. This is so many books, so I'm gonna have to pass. The Night Off by Megan O'Brien. This looks like a sapphic romance. Ooh, this is an escort sapphic romance. I like this. This does sound good. I'm gonna say mid to high priority. Out of My League by Jessica Prince, another author I've never heard of before. So this could possibly be angsty because the hero is a veteran, possibly has PTSD from his time in service. Yeah, a girl next door. Low priority for me. Nothing really stood out from the synopsis, but if there's something in this book that you think, oh my goodness, this is a book that Jessa needs to read, just let me know in the comments. People We Meet on Vacation. I talked about beach read. No, I'm not gonna read anything by Emily Henry. It's one of those books where if I stumbled upon it, like in the fiction section, I might be tempted, but the fact that it's categorized as romance, people have been splitting hairs on whether or not beach read and People We Meet on Vacation should be considered a romance. Like, does it tread that line right in between? So yeah, I've heard so many mixed things about both of Emily Henry's books. The Power of Hades. I actually have read this book already. I did not like the world building. I thought it was pretty boring, and the relationship between Persephone and Hades didn't do a thing for me. So I don't want to continue with that series, but I did read it last year. Queen Move by Kennedy Ryan. Now, Kimba was one of my favorite like side characters from the All the King's Men duet. I loved her. She was such a boss, but for some reason her story itself felt a little lackluster to me. I felt like more of the story focused on Kimba and the hero Ezra's parents and like what happened between the parents. They used to be best friends, and then all of a sudden something happened and they moved away, and it was just like Kimba couldn't see Ezra anymore, and now they've reunited. So there's that drama, but then there's also the current drama with Ezra and his wife. Is he married to her? I forgot, because like all of that, I just kind of felt a little depressed while reading Queen Move. Like there wasn't, I don't know, I just wish Kimba had a more exciting story. It's not my favorite by Kennedy Ryan. I gave it 4 stars. It wasn't a bad book at all. Like Kennedy Ryan is still amazing. Kimba just seems so lively, but this book was such a downer. The Raven by Sylvain Reynard. Okay, so the synopsis didn't do a thing for me, but I do see a blurb from Deborah Harkness that says, a gothic treat filled with ancient vampires, dark vendettas, and star-crossed love. I would say mid-priority. Mid-priority for me. The synopsis didn't tempt me at all, but that did. The Ride series by Megan O'Brien. So this is an MC romance. I would say mid-priority. There's nothing that stands out to me, but maybe, especially if I do kind of like a themed vlog or something for discovering new MC romances, I would say that this would be a possibility. The Roma King duet by Callie Hart. I recently read my first Callie Hart and I liked it. Okay, this blurb is exciting. 911, what's your emergency? So apparently the heroine actually answers these calls. This does sound good. I like this. And it seems like the hero is from Romany ancestry, so that's really cool. It says he is their reluctant king and now he's expected to find a wife. Interesting. The sound has like a vibe of like a thriller, and I like that. Rule Breaker by Lily Morton. Sounds like an office romance, enemies to lovers. It's been done before. Again, kind of low to mid priority for me. There's nothing that really stands out about the synopsis right now, unless somebody can convince me otherwise. The Runaway series by Devney Perry. I do like Devney Perry's writing style a lot. This series has been on my radar. I just have not picked it up. I do own the first book. I do have that one. I just never got to it. Seduce Me at Sunrise by Lisa Kleypas. This is actually one of my favorite ones that Lisa Kleypas has written. I love Kev and Wynn. They're one of my favorite couples. The Hathaway series is just so good. Hathaway's it's probably, I love the Ravenels the most, then the Hathaways, then the Wallflowers. Like as a whole series, if you take all the books together, that's how I would rank them. But yeah, Seduce Me at Sunrise, one of my favorites of the Hathaways. Spindle Cove by Tessa Dare. I know that this is a very popular series by Tessa Dare. I have not picked up A Night to Surrender. That's not one of the books that I've tried, but I can't say that I want to. Sustained by Emma Chase. I've only read one book by Emma Chase, Tangled. This sounds really good. Oh my God. So hero is a badass lawyer who doesn't get like emotionally involved with his clients or anything. He just wants facts, no sob stories or anything. But then I guess the heroine is his client, and she and her 6 orphaned nieces and nephews complicate his life. Yes, I like this. High priority. I'll probably download this book before I go to the beach now. I'm gonna have too many books. There's no way I'm gonna be able to read all the books that I have in my Kindle that is under my collection for beach. There's no way. Swan Song by C. Lamari. Now this is a dark romance cover if I've ever seen one. Like if I saw this book cover and then I opened it up and it was a rom-com, I'd be disappointed. So stop putting cartoon covers on books that aren't rom-coms. That's all. That's my point. Anyway, this one just says it's like a dark romance, and again, the synopsis does not give anything away. It just says, come on, little swan, get up and dance. Is this like a dark swan kind of dark romance? Is she a ballerina? Who's the hero? I don't know anything about this. I would like to know more. If somebody has read this book, please tell me like what this book is actually about. Sweet Lullaby by Lorraine Heath. Oh my God, look at this cover. I need this cover. Yes, I would like to read this book. I don't really need to know anything about it. I will go read the synopsis. Again, a short synopsis. Love it. Seduced, abandoned, and left pregnant and wed, Rebecca finds a new life with Jake, a ranch hand who marries her at the request of her father. Why have I not read this book before? I've never seen this cover for Lorraine Heath. I love it. I need it. I'm going to be on the lookout for this cover. The Things We Leave Unfinished by Rebecca Yarros. I have been recommended Rebecca Yarros books. I have been a little bit turned off just by most of the covers. They kind of look a little women's fiction-y. Again, a little bit of enemies to lovers vibes with this synopsis, but it is kind of intriguing. I would say mid-priority for me. I need to read a Rebecca Yarros. Everyone recommends her to me. And I don't really have anything to go on. I don't know how romance heavy her books are. Torn Apart and Bound Together by Kay Webster and Nikki Ash. Yeah, I need to get back into Kay Webster's backlist. There's so many books that I have yet to read. She just puts out so many, and this has always been on my radar. I believe that this is an MM romance, maybe, or a reverse harem romance. I also need to go back and see if her alien sci-fi romance is completed yet, because I do like those books. just reminded me. And I've been on a big alien romance kick. Transcend by Julie Ann. I'm gonna tell you right now, I read one book by Julie Ann and I disliked her writing style so much that I really don't want to read another book by her. I read Look the Part and it didn't do anything for me. And I was in the minority. Everyone else loved this and I did not. The Travis series by Lisa Kleypas. I've read the entire Travis series. I really liked Sugar Daddy. That is a book that does tread the line between women's fiction and romance, but it's Lisa Kleypas. I thought that she did a really good job and it sets up book 2 perfectly because Hardy Cates' Blue-Eyed Devil, one of my favorite books of all time. I reread this one recently and Smooth Talking Stranger because those are my favorites of the Travis series. I don't like Brown-Eyed Girl. One of my least favorite Lisa Kleypas books of all time. I don't like that one. Thought it was a really big miss, but yeah, I love the Travis series. Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover. I feel like maybe I'm a little bit unfair towards Colleen Hoover, but I think it's the way that Colleen Hoover entered my life because It Ends With Us was recommended to me as one of the greatest romances of all time. And I was like, great. Read the book. Writing is phenomenal. Characterization was really great. Compelling story. Was there romance? She is with another guy almost the entire time. The hero is gone for a lot of the book. I was very disappointed by the amount of romance between the hero and the heroine, and It Ends With Us. And the fact that it was recommended to me as a romance novel, like if I stumbled upon Colleen Hoover in the fiction section in my local Barnes & Noble, which is where she is shelved in my Barnes & Noble, I think it's appropriate. And I knowingly like went in like, oh, this is a fiction book and it had the level of love story that It Ends With Us had, I probably wouldn't have been as disappointed. I still gave the book 5 stars. Did it make me want to pick up another Colleen Hoover? It actually made me never want to pick up another Colleen Hoover because I don't like when somebody tells me, oh, this is a great romance book and it's not. I have heard that Ugly Love has more romantic elements in it, but I can't say that I trust people's opinion on Colleen Hoover. She's just one of those authors that everyone loves and she's very hyped, and to me she feels overhyped as a romance author, not an author. I think that she's a great writer. Ask me in a couple of years and maybe I'll feel differently. Maybe I will not be as salty about It Ends With Us not being a romance. The Unwanted Wife by Natasha Anders. This has the vibe of a thriller. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be, but she is currently married and 18 months into the marriage and everything's kind of devolving. Is this a romance between her and the husband? It just says that the heroine must seek an empowering truth about the husband who calls her with such cold affection his Kara, his beloved. Low priority, probably not gonna pick this book up. The Vested series by Melanie Moreland. Bentley is book 1. 3 young men meet in university and form a lifelong friendship. What happens when these young men meet the one person they are destined to be with? Is this a reverse harem romance? Okay, I'm not sure that this is actually a reverse harem romance. I mean, that line makes it sound like it is, but I only see Bentley and Emmy. Maybe it's like a series about each of the best friends. Huh, kind of got a little disappointed. Low priority. Vicious by L.J. Shen. I have read the entire Sinners of Saint series years ago. It was kind of my first foray into bully types of romances. I've read others more recently that kind of, for me, blow this series out the water. And that's not even taking into account the fact that L.J. Shen has been called out for some not so great behavior towards other authors. So I don't want to support an author who bullies other authors. I don't recommend her Sinners of Saints series and the spinoff. I don't recommend those to people. But I will say, before it all came out, the books that she was putting out, like after Broken Night, I was like, no, I don't like what she's writing now. I was already not liking her writing style anymore. So I can't remember if I originally rated Vicious like a 4-star or 4.5 star, I'm not sure. I did like it when I read it, but yeah, I don't recommend these anymore. Wall Street Titan by Anna Zares. Not trying to be mean, has a cartoon cover. I don't really gravitate towards rom-coms anymore, and especially not ones with cartoon covers anymore. War Prize by Elizabeth Vaughn. Ooh, very cool cover. I like it. Brawny Barbarian Romance. Yes, I love this. So it sounds like the heroine is a healer and the rival warlord demands her hand in marriage in exchange for a ceasefire. I like this. High priority for me, new author, like a barbarian. medieval romance, for sure would like to read this one. The Winter King by C.L. Wilson. I have read this book. I thought the world building was so great. Like, the beginning of this book captivated me. I was like, this is such a great world. The middle was so slow. It was a slog, and this book is so long. Sometimes I feel like fantasy writers feel like they need to have long books because they're a fantasy writer. Sometimes the story doesn't need it. This in particular, I felt like there was a lot of repetitive scenes that didn't lend anything to the story, and I wish that it was a faster pace. I didn't hate it, but also I didn't love it. I wish it would have wrapped up better because the beginning set up a world that was so very interesting. I love this cover though. I love it so much. Worth the Fall by Claudia Connor. Single mom romance. They meet on the beach. They have 1 week. He's a Navy SEAL. This sounds cute. Yeah, I like this book. Definitely a priority for me. You can really get me with the single parent romances. I'm just saying, like, you're getting to know me now, aren't you? You can really get me with that simple trope. Written on His Skin by Simone Stark. I really like this cover. She never meant to write a love letter to a stranger. Intriguing. Oh my goodness. So apparently this hero is a Cajun hero. We have another Cajun hero. I feel like, are y'all recommending this to me because I am Cajun? I definitely would like to read this, and it is a novella. So I'm gonna download this and take it with me to the beach. Definitely, for sure. That is the end of all of the books that were recommended to me. I hope that this video does not end up by being too long. It was hard to balance making a split decision on books that I've never heard of before, and I was just now reading the synopsis, so hopefully I did a good job of that. If there's a book that I would just kind of like meh about and you think that I'm not giving the book its fair due, I would like you to tell me in the comments why I should give that book a chance, because like I said, it's very hard. I need like more than what is provided in the synopsis sometimes. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up, and if you're not already subscribed to my channel, make sure you subscribe to get notified of any future videos that I do. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, life's better with a little HEA. Bye guys!